Hello there, welcome to my review of the Minerva Models O-Gauge Class 5600 TAF tank. This is the DCC sound version, which I will be showing to you just a little bit later on. There's a couple of things I want to go through with you guys just before we get to that point. So you may notice at first glance that the model doesn't come with any numbers. Minerva are not the only manufacturer to do this. Helgen produce many a diesel loco without any numbers on it these days, and actually I don't mind that. I think that's quite nice. I think you can personalise it to your own taste. You can make up a fictional number if you really want to, but most O-Gauge modelers will probably base it on or number it on their favourite one or one they've seen in the past or something along those lines. So I have got some on order. They will be coming from Narrow Planet, and I'm looking forward to fitting them to the model just to finish it off, because it does look a bit unfinished without the numbers, but on the whole it's a very good model. So first things first, we've got the very nicely applied and correct shade of BR green, Brunswick green I believe, on this loco. I have matched it up with something like the Lionheart Prairie tanks, and it's a good match. Sometimes, particularly in the smaller scales, I found if you put, say, a Hornby loco with a Bachmann carriage of the same livery, they don't always match quite right, and it just looks a little bit weird. So it's good that Minerva have gone to the effort to make sure this green matches up with the other manufacturers' models. So you can see that around the chimney there we've got a nice brass effect lining, which is really nice to see. Something that actually Dapol don't appear to put on their models. I don't know if there's a reason why. Generally speaking, most Great Western engines had this and it was never really removed, so I don't know if that's something they've picked up on when they've done the research or if they've just decided not to model it. I don't know, but it's nice to see, and given that it's a brass effect, it is different from the whistles at the back of the boiler there and the safety valve bonnet in the middle, which is prototypical. You've got the nice Lake Crest logo there in the middle of the side tank on both sides. You know, not much to say about that. It's crisp, it's sharp, it's straight. It's not going to come off in a rush. It's really good. It really stands out on the side of that model and breaks it up a bit, and yeah, I have to say it's really good. You've got them lovely little oil caps on top of the tanks there, which are also picked out, and they look really good. I've already mentioned the whistles, I should say. Great Western engines have two whistles, so they're picked out nicely at the back of the boiler there. The safety valve bonnet, so when the model arrives, it comes, if I just remove this quickly, when you get it out of the box, that's how it comes, and you think, oh, I'm missing a bit. But actually what Minerva have done is they've modelled two different variants, I believe, of the locomotive. I don't know the whole history behind it, but somewhere along the lines you either had short safety valve bonnets or taller safety valve bonnets, which I'm assuming were probably an earlier version, and then they were cut down probably for gauging restrictions somewhere, maybe in South Wales, who knows. So you get an option, you get a short version to fit, which is this one, and it just slots in like so. It's not going to fall out, so you probably don't even need any glue on that. If you wanted to change it over, you can do easy enough, and you get a slightly taller version, both the same sort of colour if you like. But yeah, it's just good that you've got the option to, again, customise the loco, just like what I was saying about the numbers. You can really go to town on this and make it your own. So one thing I have noticed when looking at this model a little bit closer is the front of the cab, just behind the whistles there. I'm not sure if this is prototypical or if it's something that's been missed by Minerva or whether it's been done like that for a certain reason. But as you can see, it's black. And looking at photos online and speaking to a couple of guys that work in the preservation sector that have worked on this class of engine or know a bit more about them than I do, generally speaking, the cabs are usually painted the same colour as the rest of the loco. So it's I don't know whether Minerva have picked out something there that we don't know about, or whether they've missed it, or whether it's just been done like that, because they did also produce, or have also produced, a BR Black variant of this model. So I don't know whether they're just copying or using up parts that they already had for that particular version, and they've just missed this when putting the green version together. I mean, it's not overly noticeable. I mean, you can see it right now because I've zoomed in on it, but at first glance, it really isn't an issue. It's just where I've looked at it sort of under closer inspection and gone, oh, that doesn't look quite right. But it doesn't bother me too much, but I thought it was something worth mentioning. So moving around to the rear of the loco then, as you can see, there's no coal load in this loco, which doesn't bother me. I quite like to have my own coal loads anyway. And again, you know, it just means you can customise it. You can put as much or as little in there as you like. Potentially, although this is already a sound fitted version, you might be able to fit another speaker in just to increase the volume capacity. There's quite a lot of room in that bunker, so it's going to take quite a bit of realistic coal to fill in to bring it up to spec. I might build it up with a couple of layers, to be honest. But you know, it's not an issue. I was just talking about the front of the cab and how that was black instead of green. It's the same with the back of the cab. Again, looking at photos and speaking to people that know a lot more than I do, everybody seems to think it should be. It should be painted green. So I don't know why Minerva have gone down this route. If anybody from Minerva is watching and they'd like to let me know, that would be great. Equally, you know, it doesn't bother me. It's just something I noticed. But to be honest, but once you put a coal load in there, I think people are going to be looking at the coal load more than the colour of the back of the cab, and it'll probably deflect from the colour of the cab anyway. So yeah, it doesn't bother me. I'm just curious to know as to why it's black and not green, basically. These locos have got a removable roof, which is, you know, pretty standard on most models these days. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the comments below, but I think this is the first time Minerva have done a model with a removable roof. Something that most manufacturers, particularly in the larger scale of O, seem to do, and it just makes everybody's life easier for fitting crew and any other details you want to fit in there. I mean, I don't know if I can zoom in just a little bit more without the camera losing focus. As you can see, it's absolutely stunning in there, which is, it almost seems a shame to put the roof back on, really, because they really have gone to town on the back of that, or above the firebox with the regulator and all the various copper pipes and everything, and the reverser and the handbrake, and yeah, it's really, really good. So yeah, so it seems a shame to put the roof back on, but equally it doesn't look so good with it off with the magnets hanging out. But there's just 3 magnets that hold it in place. You can just about see 2 of them in this footage, and it just slops back in. And it much like the safety valve bonnet, it's not going to fall out in a rush. It's quite firm when you put them together. So just something else that I noticed that was more obvious to me than the colour of the cab was the lining on the boiler, which the bits that they have done looks absolutely, you know, fantastic, like it does on the side tanks. You know, you can't knock them for that. It really does look good. However, again, speaking to people that know a lot more than me, I looking at it, I thought, is it missing a bit? And again, anybody from Minerva, if you can correct me, please do. But I'm reliably informed that across the back of the smoke box here, it should also have the same lining as what it does here and here and here. I mean, does it bother me? Not particularly, but would it have been nice to have it? Yes, of course it would. And equally, just at the back here of the front of the firebox, apparently there should be one there as well, which if you go on Google and just search BR Green 5600 and look at any photos, they all seem to be on there. So not sure why that's missing. There might be a reason, or it might just be something that was missed, I don't know, but yeah, I thought it was worth pointing out. So even though I've pointed out a few little bits there, gremlins if you like, that perhaps don't seem quite as they should. I know when Minerva produced their Class 14, of which I've got one as well, the there was various chitter chatter on Facebook pages, etc., about the green that they had on the cab of that loco, and it not being quite right. I mean, I think that was a bit harsh. In person, it doesn't bother me. It's pretty good. Again, the things that I've mentioned on this loco today, do they bother me? Not really. I'm only pointing them out because I know that they're there, but on the whole, you know, I'm really, really pleased with this loco. It does look absolutely superb. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. I didn't appreciate the size of a 5600, and when you put it up to an auto tank, for example, it's absolutely dwarfs it. So I'm sure it'll have no problem out in the garden pulling coal wagons round, etc., etc., or even just on the exhibition layout. So I'm really looking forward to giving this loco a run. I'm going to put it on the rolling road in a minute, but before I do, there's just a couple of other little bits I just want to point out that, you know, you'd expect on all this sort of thing. You know, you've got your usual sprung buffers, you've got vacuum pipes fitted at both ends, lamp irons, handrails are nicely applied, you've got sandpipes down below the sole bar there. The wheels are really nicely picked out. Sometimes on Dapon models in particular, the outside of the wheel itself, it almost looks a bit toy-like, if I'm being honest, where they just haven't finished it off, and you can just see the product they've used to make the wheels. You know, they're bare material. Something that I've done to all my Dapon models is just paint around the outside in the colour of what the wheels are, just because it just looks so much better. But what Minerva have done here is, although it's not quite the same colour, it is a lot better and it is a lot more toned down. It's difficult to pick up on camera, to be honest with you, but it's not something that I feel needs urgently painting like it did on the Dapon models, which is good. So they've done a good job there. So you've also got nicely separately fitted parts for the water lids on top of the tanks there, and the overflow pipes, and I've mentioned the lubricating boxes earlier, so that's really good to see. And you may notice on this particular example at the front of the loco where the coupling is, or the coupling hook, the actual coupling is missing. It's missing. It would getting it out of the box like any model these days is a challenge, and it did actually just break off. So they're a little bit fragile. I did have the same with my Minerva 14, so it's not something that was unexpected. And to be honest, when I'm out in the garden in particular, I like to fit slightly heavy duty, or more heavy dutier couplings, just because if you lose them in the garden, they're a nightmare to try and find. You never find them, basically. So yeah, I just like to fit heavy duty ones anyway, so it's not a big issue for me. But to anybody who's thinking of purchasing one of these, or has purchased one and hasn't got it out of the box yet, just be very, very careful with it. So on the whole, very nice model. I say there's a few bits I picked out there, but I'm not too fussed, but worth pointing out to anybody who hadn't spotted it before. So what I'm going to do now is put this on the rolling road and put it through its paces and see what the sound profile's like. So as you can see, the loco performs extremely well there, and the sound functions, I didn't go through them all, but there's about 24 or so for you to enjoy, and I'm sure over the spring and summer months in the garden I'll get to exploring all of them and doing another video and possibly a running session with it. On the whole, really good model for Minerva. I'm really pleased with it. I didn't say earlier the weight of it. It's not going to have a struggle pulling any long trains, that's for sure, or any of the heavy rolling stock that Helgen in particular seem to produce these days. So that's a big plus for Minerva. Yeah, really pleased with it. If anybody knows as to the answers of my queries there about the boiler barrel lining or the colour of the front and back of the cabs, please do let me know. I'd be very interested to hear everybody's opinion on what people think as well. But on the whole, really good, and yeah, another worthy addition to the collection of Great Western steam engines. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye.